Good morning, guys. This is Issues with Toddy Oneskip. I am Toddy Oneskip. Welcome back to our channel, our planet, our world, the place where we eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea. We drink matcha. Some of us drink coffee. Some of us drink alcohol. Some of us do not. Guys, thanks for allowing me to be part of your day. I really appreciate it. If anything, I try to add to your day, not take away, make you laugh, make you think something, bring something that wasn't there before. Hopefully not chaos. Hopefully not bad. Guys, the cutting board Dawn. I've talked about her before, and I like her channel. I do. I like her channel. She's real informative. She doesn't like fancy at all. And I gotta say that you guys have sent me. You've sent me everything about Fancy. You've sent me everything about what happened between Sarah and Fancy, and I haven't really spoken on that. But while I was watching Dawn's video, I thought, you know what? For somebody, meaning Fancy, who points their finger at somebody like Gypsy and Gypsy's family and calls them every name in the book and how dishonest and mean and this and that, and even the co-people that she's worked with who she doesn't work with anymore. I'm not sure who she works with now, because I personally saw something that Sarah said she hoped that Fancy goes to prison. So Sarah is kind of like putting some of the blame that happened to Sarah during the shit show that happened in Chillicothe, where there was, I guess, alleged fraudulent report about a chest bump. You know, we're familiar with what was said, and then we saw something on video that was totally different. And now we have Sarah and Fancy who are not speaking to each other. And I've said before, you know, look at how many people have worked with Fancy and no longer work with Fancy. And why would that be? And I personally saw, aside on the video, of course, I've never spoken to Fancy outside of, YouTube, and only emails through YouTube where you guys could read it, because there's never been any personal emails that I've ever responded to or that I've gotten. But, listen, Fancy had a lot of information. What pissed me off about Fancy lately is that she's claiming she basically owns all the information, and that all the information we as content creators are using is stuff that she has uncovered. That is not necessarily the truth. That is not the truth at all. I knew nothing about Fancy when I was uncovering shit.
Hey guys, it's Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network, and I just wanted to take a second to talk to you guys. Yes, the link that's going around to a drive is my files. Yes, it came from my Patreon. Nice of you all to take it out of there and then spread it all over the place. It's really nice of you. But I don't really care, because here's the thing. What you guys aren't understanding is those documents, those crime scene photos, they have been public for the last 9 years. Anyone could have put a FOIA in at any freaking time they wanted to and gotten those photos. And many have. And they have been out for years. The fact that you're just now seeing them means that you're probably just now coming to the case, or you chose to be willfully ignorant for the last 8 years. And
why do you have to talk to people like that? That's the thing that I don't get. Like, why do you have to talk to people like they're stupid? Why this tone? Why?
Just didn't bother to look for them because they've been everywhere for a very long time. So stop trying to pretend that this is something new or that I have done something here. I have not. The crime scene photos are public record, and if you care to put a FOIA in, you could just have them too. But I put them in our Patreon for our Patreon members to be able to find these things all in one place. It's not that I think that I've got some massive thing that no one else has in there.
So, yeah, you are. You're kind of making that accusation that if you didn't have it, we would have no way of getting it. But then in your next breath, you're saying, Well, anybody could get a FOIA. You know, I've had those crime scene photos. I've had those crime scene photos for some time now. I was sent them several times by several different people. You mean they all came from you? Nobody else who got their own crime scene photos could have possibly shared them with other people? Because in one breath you're saying that anybody could get them. A lot of people's got them. They've been all over the place. But the ones that everybody's sharing, you think they got from you. And you say it at the end because you say, thank you. I mean, that's my problem, is that you treat people stupid, you talk out of both sides of your mouth, and you're really insulting. And the fact that you don't learn, but you put your finger on Gypsy, I mean, it's the same fucking thing. It's just rude. It's just rude, the way that you talk to people. And, you know, when you're talking about other content creators, that includes me. And you have no reason to be rude to me. You have no reason to be rude to anybody. The problem all started because you're rude. And you still don't seem to get it. People don't stay with you, and you don't seem to understand why. And I don't get it. And, you know, now people are just talking about you. And you don't like that either, do you? So, I mean, I don't, you know, maybe I'd stop being so insulting. I don't see where that's serving your purpose. You now are getting in trouble, you know? You're getting in trouble with the law. It's causing people to look at your character. And if they look back in your character, it's not good. That's the problem here.
No, I don't. Now, I do have medical records that nobody's seen in there, and that is to prove the research on the chromosome disorder. But beyond that, yes, those are public record, and they are all the crime scene photos. So have fun looking through them, and you're welcome. Bye, guys.
So, as you guys know, I had a problem with the way that Fancy had spoken to people after asking for some donations to help her get to Chillicothe, the lawsuit that was being placed against her. And I bought into Fancy's narrative, and I said I was going to donate, and I said maybe we would consider donating, you guys would consider donating. And then, within 48 hours, I'm on here apologizing because Fancy is upset and yelling and being nasty to people that donated money. And I'm thinking part of the people that are donating money were people that I said, man, maybe we should do it. And I felt horrible. And I had to back away from that. And then, you know, I know that Fancy was on Sir Morbid and talking about how disappointed she was in me. And I let that go. I let that go. And I didn't respond, and I really wasn't going to respond about anything about Fancy. But Dawn's video got to me. And I said, you know, I'm going to help push this video out there because I think that she's 100% right. Dawn is 100% right in this scenario, and I think that she put it out there well. Dawn says she could be a little crude. I admit there's some of the stuff that I don't agree with, but that's the way Dawn expresses herself, and I don't have a problem with that. It might not be the way I express myself. What I think really has Dawn upset is that people still follow Fancy, and Fancy's a hypocrite because she tells untruths, because she discards people, or at least she puts them in a situation that is not healthy for them, that is not good for them. She didn't even ask Sarah. She said, I told Sarah, go over there and ... And then she says, you know, in one breath, she's saying that there was some sort of chest bump and that, you know, first of all, we didn't see a chest bump. Nobody yelled and screamed at anybody. Somebody just said, Sarah, you're not part of the press. We know who you are. You're here with Fancy. And Sarah laughed and said, but I am part of the press. Listen, the truth of the matter is, I'm not part of the media. I am not a media person. Do I report on things? Not as a reporter. I don't have a degree. I am a person in front of an iPhone, just like the majority of people on YouTube. Do not place us on pedestals because we're regular people. Please. And I guess what Dawn is saying, though, I mean, you can ask Dawn. I follow her. I subscribe to her. I think what she's saying is, guys, don't be blind. Please see who you're covering. You can, in fact, dislike Gypsy and not follow Fancy. She is not the only person. And what I was saying before was that Fancy feels like she uncovered all this information and everybody's now jumped on her bandwagon. That's not true. I did not know who Fancy was when I was deciding, whoa, Gypsy's a liar. What the hell? And as I started looking into it, I saw a bunch of people, but Fancy was the loudest. She was the loudest. She had worked with the family. God only knows what happened there, because I want to believe. I wanted to believe Fancy. But then I just saw a video where Fancy's saying she said one thing to Sarah, and now she's backtracking and said, I told Sarah to leave. I told Sarah to back away. When we clearly hear Fancy on the recording, she's not saying that. She's not saying that at all. She's actually enticing Sarah and causing more problems to the lawyer and the blue shirt guy, okay, that they call. She's helping that. The fact that she wasn't there in the face, she sent Sarah to do that. Yes, Sarah should have said, hey, you want it done, you do it. And filing a false report, Sarah should have known better about that too. I can only assume she got caught up in the moment, and that probably the stronger of the personalities was Fancy. But Fancy doesn't want to own any of that shit anymore. Fancy's saying, no, I didn't tell Sarah. I told Sarah if she didn't get that, come back. But that's not what we hear her saying. That's not what we hear Fancy saying. And the aggravation and the annoyance is, own your shit. Like I say to Gypsy, own your shit. Like, you can't be pointing at Gypsy for doing bad things and the Blanchard family for doing bad things, when in all honesty you're not doing the right thing either. You can't have it both ways. Did Fancy have information that helped us understand this case a little bit better? If you go and believe the dialogue of what Fancy is saying, then yes. But also, if you look at everything that Gypsy's done, you guys already pretty much know that there wasn't Munchausen by proxy, right? I mean, and Gypsy's actions are showing us that, and the common sense that we have is showing us that. Fancy doesn't own that. Fancy doesn't own that. And for Fancy to say, that I did this and you guys need to give me credit for that. If I ever used Fancy stuff, I gave Fancy credit. I know she wasn't talking exclusively to me, but Fancy, since then, there's been information that you've gotten from other YouTubers, and you went and commented about that, because there's no way you could have known firsthand, because nobody in the family talks to you anymore. So are you giving credit to people that you're getting information from now, or are you using your own noggin? Because you got to allow other people, and you got to give a little bit of grace and say maybe they're using their own noggin. In the meantime, Sarah, just like everybody else that Fancy's worked with, unfortunately, no longer works with Fancy. So, guys, when you expose yourselves, there's another channel out there now called Exposing the Good Wives Network. And I don't know what Fancy's going to do about that, because any credibility from people that believed she had any, it's just not there anymore. And yet she's still hanging on and being nasty and calling people names like a sixth grader. And that's not the way it is. I think that it's time that you just own your shit. And I can imagine what's going to come my way. But here's one thing. I'm pretty consistent. If there's something that's changed or something that I disagree with or something this or something that, I will tell you. But I've tried to not really speak on this, but so many of you have written to me, and then this video just struck a nerve in me that said, you know what? She's a hypocrite. And if I could call this person out as a hypocrite and that person out as a hypocrite, why is Fancy sacred? You know, I try to give grace to mental health, but that person has to realize that maybe they have some mental health issues. I don't think Fancy realizes that. I think she blames everybody for her problems and she doesn't own anything. So that's what I think.
Then Fancy really just kind of flip-flopping on her story, basically. But you'll see here.
Good morning, guys. I am here with the media.
No, you're not. You're here with
I find it so humorous how she calls herself a member of the media. She's not a member of the media. What outlet does she work for? The Good Wives Network? That's not legitimate. That's not a legitimate network. That's not a legitimate outlet at all. It's not. It's something a bored housewife made up because she wasn't getting it at home. So yeah, that's ridiculous. And I know for a fact that she's not a true member of the media because of that press release she supposedly wrote for the lawsuit. It's 4 pages long. It's riddled with grammatical and spelling errors. It goes from first person to second person to third person to 500th person. It's 4 pages long. A well-written press release should be less than 1 page. It should have a good, strong lead, and it should have absolutely 0 spelling and grammatical errors. And that, honey, was not a press release. If an editor got that on his desk, he would toss it aside. He would not waste his time with that shit. So yeah, that is ridiculous. Not a member of the press, not a member of the media. She needs to stop saying that because that's some BS right there.
With the media.
No, you're not. You're here with Fancy, and you can step away from me or I will have a police call.
That's fine. We wanted to know if you wanted to make.
You are. You can step away. Or I will have a police call.
Well, that's fine. We just wanted to know if you wanted to make a comment.
Yes, I know. You will step away, or I will have a police call, Sarah. I know who you are.
That's fine. I do work. I do work for the.
No one raised their voice at her. They weren't even disrespectful. She was harassing them. Once they tell you to walk away and you don't walk away, that's harassment.
To know if you wanted to make a comment.
Yes, I know. You will step away, or I will have a police call, Sarah. I know who you are.
That's fine. I do work. I do work for the. I do work for the media.
He is not a member of the press.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am a member of the press.
Please call.
You know, exactly. It does not matter what happened, why she was over here, whether my judgment call was good or bad.
Doesn't
whether
matter.
she was arguing. She was. Okay, look, she was. And I've talked to her about it.
Right.
This is where Fancy is basically saying she's not responsible for any of this behavior.
Why she was over here, whether my judgment call was good or bad.
Doesn't
whether
matter.
she was arguing. She was. Okay, look, she was. And I've talked to her about it.
Right.
I even said, what I told you to do was I told you to walk over there, ask a simple question, get a simple answer. When you didn't get that answer, I yelled out at you to come back over to me, and you didn't. You stood there and continued to argue with them.
Oh, Fancy, talk to her about it like a mama. I told you to come back over here and you didn't. And then she finds it appropriate to mock her friend who went out of her way and spent $700 of her own money to take her on a mini vacation in Missouri. She mocks her. This is how she treats people. This is how this witch treats people. And a lot of y'all act like she is just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
She was not freaking harassing them. She was a reporter doing what reporters do.
She's not a reporter. Y'all may as well just quit that right now. She's not a reporter.
Hey guys, it's Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network, and we are sitting outside of the Chillicothe courthouse this morning while having breakfast with the In the Weeds podcast at our hotel. We were aghast that Mr. Sandfield was staying at the same hotel as us. So, in the lobby where we were having breakfast, I was going to take a picture of him from the distance to prove that he was in my hotel in case anything happened to me, because I'm a little bit in fear for myself here.
First of all, fix your lipstick. Secondly, she's such a self-important bitch. She's like, I'm in fear for myself because I'm very important. I'm very important. And I'm scared because I'm very important.
I do not feel safe. And when Sarah came down, she walked over as a member of the media. She interviewed me. She interviewed Into the Weeds podcast. And then she went over to grab a comment and ask Mike if he wanted to make a comment. His associate then stood up and proceeded to yell in Sarah's face and chest bump her.
So you all saw the same thing I did at the beginning of this video. There was no yelling. There was no chest bumping. There was no pushing. There was no shoving. She is completely full of shit. She is a liar.
I am just in shock. Sarah, do you want to say anything, sweetheart?
Sarah, sweetheart, you have anything to say? Because I care. I'm a very caring person. I care about you, and I want you to say your piece as long as it aligns with everything I say.
For the media.
He's not a member of the press.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am a member of the press.
Please call, please.
For the media.
He's not a member of the press.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am a member of the press.
Please call, please.
So you can clearly hear her saying, no, she's part of the media. She's part of the media, and we're here for breakfast. We're staying in the hotel, too. You hear that. And then you hear, when it got out of hand, how Fancy said, I told her not to argue. So, you know. Anyway, guys, Dawn, Cutting Board Dawn, you know, you guys check her channel out. She's got the whole video. She goes into a whole long explanation. She talks about Sarah, too. I just wanted to share this because the problem is you can't get other people into trouble and then pretend like you had nothing to do with it. That's not fair. It's not right. You got to own your shit. Okay? Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Thank you, as always, for your support. I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you on the next one real soon, guys. Don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday. Not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. Always, always be kind. Always be responsible. We have to be responsible for who we are. We have to take responsibility for the things that we do. Otherwise, what good is our word? What good is our name? What good are we? All right, guys. See you next time. Thanks.